You know what
All
I'm
right.
just now realizing, dude?
Huh.
Not once. Do you introduce people on this?
Oh, well, we talked clean through it, so I was going to do it at the end.
Oh,
and edit it
okay.
forward.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have gone through this whole thing, and not once have I explained. We explained to anybody how we know each other and where? Because you say on stage, and it's like, oh, people don't know I'm a comedian yet. They're just like, who's this person?
Oh yeah. Probably.
Honestly, leave it there too. What's going? No, don't actually do that.
Today on the Friends with Benefits podcast, I have a good friend from the stand-up scene. If you don't know him from the stand-up, you know him as that gay vet tech who's always quietly judging you. Give it up for Cam Scott, everybody.
Oh, it's not quiet.
It's
not a quiet judgment. Literally yesterday, and I may be written up by the time that this hits the internet.
Oh, let it fire. Let it loose.
I literally just told somebody last night, you should not own cats.
Damn.
I got rude with a woman who was not interested in actually doing anything for her cat.
Right.
And yeah, we fought over a pain med. She came in because her cat had an ear infection.
Uh-huh.
So you're trying to get the ear infection treated.
Right.
But then by the end of the visit, she didn't want to pay medications. That's kind of a normal thing, but at the same time, it's like, well, let me tell you what each medication is for. So one is an antibiotic. You should definitely take that. The other, though, is for pain, and we want them comfortable so that they're not messing with their ears. But she got mad about the pain med, and I was just like, okay, so your cat's going to be uncomfortable. And she, yeah.
Damn.
It was way worse than that. I'm not going to get into that.
Sure.
Because I don't need anybody to realize that. I mean, she's going to know. If this woman also ever sees this, she's going to know I'm talking about her.
All right.
Because she knows exactly what I said.
Good. And
I looked at her, I gave her back her cat, and I went, you should probably not own cats. And I walked away. I did not give her a moment to respond.
Good.
I was like,
Nor should you.
I'm going to walk away. Hopefully there's a review about it. I hope I get written up. I don't care.
Listen, so actually, that brings me to a question I've been meaning to ask you. So, when you see, is there a kind of pet that you see and you're immediately like, the owner's probably going to be a piece of shit? Like, is there a kind of pet that you
no, it's really? It's never based off of the pet.
Right.
It's never based off of what pet I'm getting. I think I kind of understand what you're talking about, and I think that's like with with women who drive a Porsche Cayenne, there's a high probability they like white wine and Xanax. I understand. I understand what you're getting at. And so like yes and no, I guess then. Right. But really, what it is I think you have just more. I would say almost culturally relevant dogs. If that
trendy dogs where like the breed is like kind of the current trend of the year.
Yeah.
Like
so
Frenchie,
depending if you have a lot of money and you're white, you own either a doodle of some kind, or maybe like a collie. A lot of them have collies. If you are poor with expensive taste, you own Frenchies.
Yeah,
that's what, because every owner who's ever come in with a Frenchie in an emergency has never had money for the emergency because they spent it all on the Frenchie. Because most Frenchies get sold for like $2,000. That's pretty simple, pretty common. I will not hate on breeders only because they keep vet med in business.
Sure.
They keep me with a job. Right. The more messed up the animals are, unfortunately, we have a job to do. But at the same time, it does suck. It sucks that's kind of how it works. But like Frenchies are a super popular breed now. Doodles are really popular at the moment. Labs not so much.
Right.
There's always a dip and rise in Shepherds. But Shepherds, Pitties, and then anything that's like a black and tan dog, so like Dobermans, Rotties, right? Those are typical New Mexican dogs, along with Chihuahuas. So those are all the typical New Mexican dogs. So those are the most of what we see. I think it is based off of the name. that somebody has for their dog
Oh.
that you can sort of kind of start picking up on people's personalities.
What a question.
Everybody who uses the stereotypical names of like Diesel or Zeus or Killer for their male dogs, or Baby or Princess or Baby Princess for their female dogs, they're going to be some of the most annoying people that you deal with.
I believe that.
Those, first of all, are not clever names for the most part, so these are not clever people. Unfortunately, these are a lot of the same. I used to work for Starbucks, and these types of people followed me into a whole different career. But there is, in my opinion, people in this state who do they walk into a place and the first thought that they have is, how do I scam this place? And that's just true.
Right.
Which is not a thing I fully hate. I just hate when it happens to me.
Right.
I don't want it to happen to me.
Right.
But you keep doing you at another business. Please scam the rich.
Right. Yeah.
I don't care, especially Starbucks.
Oh, yeah.
Now I don't care. Before I was an employee. For some reason try to care.
I did my 2-year tour at Starbucks. I understand.
Yeah. Same. There were those people who are always trying to scam us out of drinks at Starbucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's always somebody coming in trying to find a way to get something for free, or always trying to do. And what sucks is, for some people, I don't think they realize what a habit it is in them, or like what a terrible character flaw that is to have.
Right.
But they'll walk in with an actual emergency with their animal, and they will just try to scam the whole time. And it's just like, what? We have something to worry about, dude. And I get it, you can't afford it, but you're gonna sit here and try to tell me all the which ways that we need to be doing what we're doing.
Jeez.
Some of them will always threaten some sort of legal action, knowing full well it's like, you can't pay this bill. How are you gonna afford a lawyer? So it's just like, a lot of the times you can tell by certain names. I think the name is more telling than the breed.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
that
Especially
makes a lot of sense.
Because most of your general public, who are just average dog owners between the ages of 25 and probably 50, own a very wide variety of dogs, and they just do not care. They don't care what the dog is. Most of them have some sort of story where they were raised with that dog or something, whatever. It's the older people who have this idea of what is their ideal dog breed and stuff, and all that stuff is typically what I hate dealing with too.
Okay.
You get a lot of, you can also tell your nerds from the names or other stuff. Every now and then, we'll get just these wild names. I still think my favorite one was a cat named Snow Plowed. So past tense of snow plow. His name was Snow Plowed. Yeah, because he had been snow plowed. He'd been run over by a snow plow.
Holy shit!
And it was really funny because the owner came in with this one. I can't believe as long as I don't say a last name, I wonder how many of this cat's probably not even alive anymore.
Right.
A second snowplow.
Snowplow too. Shit.
Oh my god. Snowplow had his own children's book. And the owner told me about the children's book, and that was really cool. And that's one of my I think that's one of my cool favorite names that I had ever had, and I think it's just because of kind of again the story behind how that cat got its name. It got ran over by a snowplow, and that's actually what convinced them to not name the cat just that, but then to make the children's book.
That's
for
really
it.
Sweet.
So it was kind of cool to hear that. And then another one of my favorite names was a cat literally named Texas Roadhouse. And that was actually a recent patient.
A recent patient.
So I can't say a
They're just-
last name,
of
which
course.
actually makes it a better story.
Right.
But I can't say it.
Did they have a last name that would indicate it being Texas Roadhouse?
No, they just had a last name that well, if I say it then
Right.
so I can't
Oh,
say
it'll
what
get you
the
in trouble.
connection is.
Right,
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
get you
yeah.
in trouble.
But still, that was another one of my favorite
Yeah.
animal names. Was just Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, that's
the whole dog, the whole cat. It was
The
a
whole
cat.
cat.
The whole cat's name was just Texas Roadhouse.
that's super funny.
So cool.
Gotta
Also
love
a great cat. I love
Aw.
that. I loved that patient. But we do get some fun names every now and then.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, most of our patients are some sort of stereotypical, generic.
Just good old.
Oh my god. I think because what's really funny is when the name and popularity went up in the non-binary community
Mhm.
and like with trans men choosing names.
Right.
Kai is a really high one. Kai is also a very popular dog name. And I think they both rose in popularity at the same time. I don't think
believe-
there was any disconnect there.
Yeah.
Another one is Nico.
Yeah.
I actually have a Nico in my home. Our newest pug's name is
Aw.
Nico.
Oh.
Who is the closest to a gay twink.
Really?
So it's not me anymore. We have this
We
dog
we got
who
some.
clearly embodies a gay twink better than I ever could.
Oh, that's
But
too good.
Nico is another name that's gone up in popularity for dogs and somehow in the LGBTQ community.
Right. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's I love video game names. I love names that I get the reference and I'm able to walk into the room
Mhm.
like
You're
ask
like-
the owner.
You're like,
Yeah.
hey.
And then
That's
you
cool.
do get names every now and then that are just like, what
Right.
is happening?
I believe that.
One of those ones was a dude who came over with his cat, and he was like, this cat's name is I think it was DA, and of course, I'm sitting there like, what the hell does
Yeah.
DA stand for? Are you telling me this cat is the district attorney?
That was really funny.
I'm like, what's DA stand for? And this cat was in hospital for a few days, and I remember asking,
Mhm.
what's DA stand for? And the man then just literally deadpan stare looks at me and goes, dumbass. And I was just like, what? Well, you named your cat Dumbass and just gave it like you
DA,
nicknamed it DA?
That's funny.
It's
That's
so wild. And this dude was a biker. This dude was actually
He was
a
like-
biker, and he
Begrudgingly probably got that cat.
oh, the cat was a bar cat apparently.
Yeah.
And into bike cat, so he would drive the cat on the bike to bars to hang out.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, I'm sure it had its own leather jacket.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, I did some vlogging 2010 through 2011.
Oh.
Yeah, a prime heyday.
That
In
was
fact,
the time.
I auditioned for a YouTube channel
Before
when I was 18, before it was really big at the time. So this is like when this stuff was kind of starting, because the channel I auditioned for was A Gay a Day.
Okay.
And it was Tyler Oakley's channel. It was his
Oh.
collaboration channel. So
I haven't heard from that guy in
Tyler
ever.
Oakley, when he was getting big, like basically beginnings.
Uh-huh.
So full beginnings of him getting an audience on YouTube. He did a collaborative channel with 4 other people, and it was called Gay a Day, and every day one of them would put out a video. And I think Tyler was Friday, so it would start off on Monday.
Oh, I get it. That's your days. That's the
Yeah.
beginning of the day.
That was, and there was an opening, I want to say, for like Tuesday. I don't. I can't.
Do you want to be the Tuesday gay? Is that the ideal?
I think when you're 18,
you're willing to
I
accept
think when
it.
you're 18 and you think you're gonna do anything online for any long period amount of time, I think you want to be anything you can be. I don't think it mattered. I didn't care what day of the week it was.
Yeah.
My audition submission, like my submission, was terrible.
Really?
It was bad. It was. The vlogs I was putting out were very cringy. I think
Right.
probably very very much a teenage humor and a humor that only me and my friend shared. Um,
Inside humor
and
only.
if even that, it was also a lot of like a lot of like very hacky gay humor. um, I like because one of the videos I do a very very uh almost parodied form of drag in one of the videos where I've got balloon boobs, one of my mom's tops on, one of her wigs on, one of her wigs, and I forget who I'm making fun of.
Right.
I think I'm making fun of somebody from the hills. I think there was an interview at the time that one of the members from one of the cast from the hills did an interview, and I just remember thinking that the interview questions were stupid. Her answers could not be any like
Dumber.
just lack of substance. Just it did not mean anything. Like this interview was just so wild to me, and it was just so boring.
Yeah.
That I remember. Now that I'm older, now that I'm actually recounting this, all I can think is, why was I so mad? What was I so upset about? Why did I care? What high horse was I on that I felt the need to to care about this, especially
Right.
when this was not anything that was permeating any other aspect of my life at the time.
Well, when I feel like that's my friend said this, and I completely agree with them. It's like teenage years. It's like you care the most when no one cares at all,
Especially about dumb things.
Any of your opinions, like because I had my own like weird hills I wanted to die on. Like mine was I hated Pierce Morgan from the ages of 11 to 13.
Good.
And I don't have a reason for it. I was just one day I saw like an interview just on the news that my dad was screaming at, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck this guy. To the point where on a project for school, they were like it was like for health class or whatever. They were like, here's your likes and dislike board. You bring what you like on one board and then what you don't like on the other one. And there was a huge picture of Pierce Morgan, and my teacher was like, huh. In my class, no one.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie about this. I feel like, is that like a teenage boy thing?
100%.
To have like a weird, almost political rivalry with somebody either in the news or even a politician or something. Because you and I cannot be the only two people who have experienced this. Mine was Al Gore.
You hated Al Gore?
Hated Al Gore. I remember what it was. I remember exactly what class it was. It was was it? Okay, maybe I don't. No, 7th grade. It was 7th grade science. It was 7th grade science class. We just watched An Inconvenient Truth. So we just watched. I got that right? That is the one where
I think I'm like 90%
where it's Al
sure.
Gore's documentary, right, on climate change. And what kills me still to this day, what kills me about this documentary is him talking about greenhouse emissions. And there's a specific part in the documentary, and it's very early in, where he is talking about greenhouse emissions, what causes them, all these things, how we need to become efficient, while he is on a private jet. And it is so wild to see this man make this point from his private jet.
Right.
It's just like, there wasn't a more efficient way of traveling. You couldn't have done coach. I'm so sorry. Like, god dang, man. Like, what is the point here then? What are you trying to sell to us? I think that was the first time.
Yeah.
That was the moment I clocked that man as somebody. I was just like, no, he's a liar.
Yeah.
He's a liar and a politician. No, he's a liar. And this was because An Inconvenient Truth was after the Bush election. It was after he had lost. It was after him and John Kerry lost.
Right.
Which was a huge election for, I think, most of our parents. When that happened. I
still have my dad's blood for oil signs.
I think that was... I do have to say, I think that was the last time my mom voted Democrat. But I think my parents voted on opposite sides of the aisle. I might be wrong about that. I actually do
Right.
think my mom voted right for a lot more than I thought in my life. But I always thought it was weird because I thought I lived in an actual split home.
Right.
I legit thought, because of the things my mom taught me,
Yeah.
she never assigned a political ideology to it, but
Right.
if I had done my homework to figure out who was on what,
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh no, my mom is absolutely a liberal.
Right.
She taught me there was a chance that you could be trans when I was like 8.
Right.
There was, she was definitely teaching my brother and I about just how to respect people in general from
Right.
a very early age, but how that still is different on depending on what people you're interacting with.
Right.
And but also, like, I mean, some of the things were just like, my brother was a teenager and she was always just like, if you ever see a girl having a hard time at a party, like, you should probably distract the dude that's annoying her.
Yeah.
You need to help her get out of that situation as being from this household. Like, that
Yeah.
was something that she just wanted us to know. And she was like, because you are my sons, I'm going to you get to now be this type of person for the rest of your life because I'm going to teach it to you.
Yeah.
And so anyway, like I would have thought liberal. And then I think it was Obama that actually she full up told me that she did not vote for Obama. And I was like, what?
Yeah, the first.
You did what? You hate gay people now? I was so confused. I
Right.
was just like, this is wild.
Right.
And that was definitely at a time too where I was still probably am, but was the most liberal leaning person in the house and pretty
Right.
open about it. My family had a pretty open politics policy.
That's nice.
Where it was just an open debate and argument at any point. But like,
Nice.
that's also a thing now where I feel like I do sort of miss the days when I was a kid and it was
Right.
like I could have these conversations and still recognize it probably wasn't having an impact on my life.
Right.
The shelter of being at home and
Right.
being under your parents' money is definitely a nice veil
Right.
when it comes to being able to talk about politics. And
Yeah.
then when you're not in that situation, it all
Right.
changes. But
Right.
it's definitely a wild way to just grow up.
Right, dude. It's funny because my dad grew up the same way. My dad's an older guy, and he was super progressive for a man of his era. He was born before Alaska was a full state.
Wow. Okay,
and
yeah.
you know what's funny is I always say this. I go, he is a full, old school Union Democrat guy, but he has full and complete Fox dad energy. Like that's it's hilarious. Like, and I tell it as a bit on stage sometimes where I'm like, he'll just scream about something that you care about and you agree with him, but because he's yelling about it, you're just like, it almost makes you like I was the Republican incel face because of that. It grazed me for like 1 second. I was just, dad screamed about healthcare one too many times, and
Yeah.
for a point I was like, you know what? I don't think anyone deserves this.
Yeah. Oh no, what's even wilder is, so I may have still been the most liberal person in my household. While full bold face telling everybody I was a Republican. I think I claimed to be a Republican
Right.
through high school, all of high school. I think it was literally the year I was able to register to vote was the year I claimed Democrat. So I turned 18. I voted for governor, and the only reason I remember voting is because I was going to do anything I could to make sure that my votes did not go to Susana Martinez.
Oh,
It was
I
her
forgot about
first
her.
election run,
Right.
which she won, but it was her first election run that was the first election I got to take part in, because birthday is like beginning of school year, later in the actual year, right? So I ended up starting like being one of the year later kids. So I was always one of the older students of my class.
Right.
So my senior year, I was one of a handful of students who could actually vote for that, just because we all happened to turn 18 at the beginning of the year.
That's crazy.
So when the election cycle came around, we actually got to vote. But I remember choosing Democrat because I was like, actually, I hate Susana Martinez.
Right.
And I can definitely
Oh.
talk about her,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but I remember claiming I was Republican, and I was out when I was 13.
Right.
I was still out as gay.
Yeah.
trying to convince
Betrayal.
both myself and other people that I was a gay Republican. Which back in the day, and I don't know if they still use this word. I don't know if this is still the word for a gay Republican. But back in the day, it was a log cabin.
Log cabin, yeah. Log cabin Republican.
So it's log cabin Republican because Abraham Lincoln was a famous homosexual, apparently. And yeah, I remember
the evidence for that is a little bit like people were like, when you look into it, you're like, huh.
Well, I prefer to still I do like to hold that he was homosexual, but I do it using the evidence set by the American Dad episode about the subject.
I love that one.
Lincoln Lover.
The best. I fucking love that episode.
Yeah, Lincoln Lover.
They're so great. I love. Yeah, the best part is he's just like like it gets more and more popular, and it's all like buff gay dudes and suits just loving.
Yeah, I love that episode so much because it's truly. Also, I am an American Dad aficionado.
Dude, this house runs on American Dad here.
Yeah, same in my household. Me and my roommate have been watching American Dad together for the last 15 years.
It is the best. It is. Family Guy needs to die. I loved Family Guy when I was 10, and it hasn't been funny pretty much like since then.
I try to watch some newer seasons, and it's a little. So I think. As you get older and as you see the seasons of all of Seth MacFarlane shows kind of progress, I think you see a little bit more of just like where his ideas were for each show and what each show, which jokes were reserved for that show, right? Like I have no clue, and I will just say this: I have no clue what his plan for the Cleveland show was. We'll just leave that. We won't talk about.
Was
that
he really Was he really that popular of a character that he got? Like, because I don't think
he was popular. I think this was. I want to say originally it was in talks for. There was going to be a spin-off. I think they had an idea for a different character. I think it might have even been Quagmire. I just remember. So I am 100% a Seth MacFarlane fanboy.
Same.
Yeah. Since I was in high school, I could watch a Family Guy episode. First few seconds in the episode, I could start reciting the whole episode.
That's how I am with American Dad.
Well, and now I'm that way with American Dad, right? So, but it started with Family Guy and all of the stuff he was doing, and like you can even tell like there were some people don't like Ted because they're like it's just his Family Guy jokes. And it's Peter in a teddy bear or whatever, or like Joe or whatever they want to say. And it's just like you can say that about it, but at the same time, if you watch enough of his stuff, you're like, actually, this movie was him truly trying to write this weird original family movie that's like supposed to, I think, invoke his brand of comedy, but almost in like a Christmas Story way, right?
Right.
Like,
have you seen the show?
The American Christmas Tale or whatever? What is the one?
A Christmas Story?
A Christmas Story is
the
one that shoots the eye, right?
Yeah.
I'll shoot your eye out.
That's now sponsored by Raising Cane's. Have you seen that?
Oh my god.
They dragged that kid. By the way, he grew up tough. Like he's not like he's like when you see him, you're like, oh god, is that what happened?
Yeah.
And he was like, give me the crazy cane box, and I was like, oh, the disgust I feel.
Yeah.
Like they've just because like A Christmas Story is slowly becoming like the new like commercial holiday thing. Where it was like at first because like as soon as they did the musical a couple years ago, no one asked for it. They did a sequel a couple years in the movie. Nobody asked for.
I feel like definitely certain Christmas movies come and go. I think in like waves and like roller coasters of like what themes we see obviously throughout the years, but it just like that's how Ted feels is kind of like that feel. But Seth MacFarlane humor because you have this talking teddy bear that's trying to fuck humans.
Right.
Can we curse here?
No, fuck yeah. What do you think this is?
Cool, I figured.
Listen, if there's a room where my frat paddles are hanging up, it's like you can. You can cuss. It's okay.
Yeah, the good old pike.
Good old days. Have you seen the show? Have you seen the Ted Show?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
dude,
and I actually
that
really
almost
liked it.
It was really
I
good.
actually really liked it. I liked the writing. I like the young actor in it. I
Yeah.
think he's doing a really good job with it. I loved it, and again, it's got this Wahlberg's feel to it
Right.
because of Mark Wahlberg too, and kind of the tone that he set for it. And sure enough, in this new family, it's just kind of you still get that feel.
Right.
But I've always felt that way about Seth MacFarlane. I feel like he like what I was getting at was Family Guy. You can tell that was his show, that because it was so risque at the time that
Right.
it came out, that he just kept that going. So the jokes that I feel like he writes that are him trying to outdo himself in a almost gross way is
Yeah.
always going to be Family Guy. He's always going to put that into Family Guy.
Right.
He's done it into American Dad, but there's a tone to American Dad that he bases off of his own family. He literally, I think, writes from the perspective of him growing up with his sister
Right.
and kind of his dad, and they're all they're very funny people, you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've ever clocked it, but that's his dad in the Christmas episode. That they have the old man in the beginning narrating, and it's this older kind of almost like he almost looks like Santa met oh god, Mickey Rourke.
Is it Mickey Rourke? Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
My- really?
He kind of looks like a cross between them, but there's a Christmas episode.
Oh yeah, Family Guy where he's like reading. Where
Oh,
they're
is it Family Guy that
Yeah,
it's
because
on?
it was. I remember it because it was like the 2-parter Christmas special
Oh,
where they were like
the really bet where they go to the North Pole.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
It was on Family
You
Guy.
see this-
Well, that's their dad.
Right. He's like
And he is funny. He is funny
he's
too.
Very funny.
And so just kind of like
That
getting
energy.
to see that. Watch me be wrong about all of that fact, by the way. Watch me. I just feel like I listened to a podcast. Also, I feel like I saw the credits for whichever episode it was. I do feel like I saw the credits and
Yeah.
was like, that's their dad or
Right.
something. I do feel like I know this, but let's hope I'm right.
Right. Best is his dad's best line in that Christmas special is like when he's done telling the thing, he's like, by the way, if any of you guys want to buy some pot.
Oh, that's funny. I think for me it was I'm pretty sure, maybe not. You know what? I don't know this. I'm now making up a whole scene
What?
that happened in my head. Like, didn't he shit himself?
Yeah, he did. He farted.
Right, okay,
He
yeah.
he did.
Yeah.
He farted. He farted, and he was just like, well, he was like one of those dad, like the way those dad farts go. He's just like, well, you know.
Yeah. That was a good one. That was no total Seth MacFarlane
Dude,
fanboy. I love American Dad. I'm actually trying still to figure out a great Christmas gift for my roommate. So my roommate is also my best friend of 20 years, and we've been
Right.
living together for almost 10 years, if not over 10 years
Wow.
now. So we're both American Dad fans. I have reservations about ordering other people clothes
Right.
online, and I hate playing that game.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I know I am the worst with dimensions of any kind, unless related to an animal.
Fair enough. But, you know, I mean, that's your training taking over. You
Yeah.
can identify a dog sweater in the perfect dimensions.
Yeah. So I've been sort of hesitant, but the ultimate goal is to get Bazooka Shark jerseys.
Oh, that'd be perfect. That's sort of.
And it's so great because she actually, what do you put this on? What do you put? Is this on
Oh, the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, like YouTube, Spotify, all that jazz.
Yeah. So like, she has no clue that I'm doing this, and I know for a fact there's no way that she's gonna
This is gonna reach her.
Oh
Got it.
yeah. No, her entire algorithm is drag queens.
Right.
So I'll have to tell her about all of this well after Christmas, depending on what the gift
Right.
is. But the goal has always been to get us Bazooka Shark jerseys.
That's pretty sick.
But because I don't want to do clothes, I'm trying to figure out how to do like a poster for a game night or something
Right.
for Bazooka Sharks, like Bazooka Sharks versus Cyber Moles.
Oh, dude, I love how they're like I like the indoor lacrosse joke where they're like, yeah, indoor football's time for indoor.
Yeah.
What was it? Laser rats.
The laser rats, yeah, because I think
So dumb.
Yeah, it's so
It's so
dumb.
stupid.
I wanna like put in like the corner of it, like, come see Sky Crooner.
Sky Crew. I like how when the do you remember like the Die Hard episode they did where they were going to
Yes.
yeah, and I like the part where
Yes.
he's like, Stan, I can't kill.
Yeah.
Life begins. I can
Yes,
see."
yes, yes, and that's when you find out
Most-
Sky Crooner
most
is
unnecessary.
yeah, is a pro-lifer.
So-
And I still love him. I
Dude,
love
that
Sky
is the
Crooner
worst.
so much. I
It's
love
so
the
funny.
episode where where you see him in his own home and you find out he's never released from the
He's
suspension
still,
wires.
He's still hanging.
He's
from
still
the-
just hanging there. Mom! I didn't mean what I said.
I like how he's always like scream singing.
Yes, but he also looks like Carrot Top.
He
and
does.
It's so funny. He's like not even just Carrot Top. It's almost like a little bit of like a bit of a drugged out
Carrot.
Sean White.
Right. He looks like a
that's
guy-
what he definitely looks like if Sean White could do what he could do, but in the bar of a casino.
Right. That, you know what? Indoor snowboarding, that's on the table. It's going to happen in the next
Sure.
at least 8 years. Vegas is going to be like, hey, you know how the Sphere we can't power it anymore because we can't afford it? It's a ski slope now.
You know what? Bringing up Sean White, I don't know if you've noticed this recently, but definitely some of our favorite X Games people being in hardcore arthritis commercials at the moment is killing me. Tony Hawk has is been sponsoring, I think, a couple arthritis medications that I keep seeing commercials for. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, come on.
They're like, hey, kids in the 90s, all the skateboarding accidents starting to creep up on you again.
Yeah. If you did not think that there was any damage that was going to happen, you just
you
so
were
you know,
mentally
it's
ill.
full damage.
They're like, it's bad.
yeah.
My friend, I personal train, and one of my friends when he was training, he goes, yeah, he's like, hey, if I pull something here, is it like a for life injury now? And I'm like, we're both 25, so I think we got like a year left before it is.
It depends on the injury.
Oh, true. Like when I broke my hand, I was like, I recovered out of that one pretty quick, but
Would you break which hand?
the left hand, and I
Same.
broke my little the
Metacarpal?
yeah, that thing.
Same, literally
Dude,
same.
nice.
Mine was my middle metacarpal. I definitely did it probably a gayer way than you, and I do fully mean that in the sense of gay.
Right. Well, well, now you have to elaborate. How is it?
Well, I
how
was
is
a
it-
cheerleading incident. But at least
yeah.
it was me flipping around.
Right.
So it was like nobody fell on me to cause this injury. People
Right.
fell on me plenty. I did have a flyer that me and her had a probably tumultuous relationship with gravity. But in high school I did cheer. It was a basketball game the night before a competition for us. So high school
shit.
cheer in Cruces does competitive. Most high school cheer programs now are all competitive in a way. It does not matter.
Right.
They all do some sort of competition. That used to not be the case back
Right.
probably not until the 80s and 70s where it was. But anyway,
And then-
I don't need to get into the whole history of
Oh, and
cheer.
then there's-
I'm realizing how
Oh,
much
then
I
there's-
still retained.
I didn't real. Yeah, I mean, I only knew that because of that. My friends from high school made me watch. What's that cheerleading movie where it's like
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Bring it on rules. That's the
No.
only- it was the
Yeah,
only time.
yeah. There, I think, were 3 of them.
There were 3. There were a
One
lot.
of them starred Hayden Panettiere, and they have this who I sort of have a weird love for. I
Right.
loved her in Heroes.
Mm.
I just an odd love for her when I was, especially in high school. I don't know
Right.
what it was about her, but I was just like, I love this B-list bitch. So she was, I think, in the second one, might have been the third one. I think every Bring It On movie after the first one were all straight to DVD.
Oh, of course they were.
One of them, I'm pretty sure, was an ABC original movie, and I think there was a fourth one, and I think that was it.
What was that, like a Tubi original?
No, I'm pretty sure it was ABC Family.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure they got the rights to that movie.
You brought up just the most
nostalgia. I'm really good at that.
Oh man, those it was like dramatic shows about like pregnant teenagers or like Harry Potter marathons, and I feel like that's all they really did.
Oh yeah, especially okay, so before they had rights to Harry Potter, it was all of their original movies that they were kind of putting out,
kind of like how Hallmark does it.
But what I remember the most were always in Halloween, because when I was younger, they had this ABC Family original Sleepy Hollow movie that actually wasn't the worst. I cannot tell you anything about it now. I just remember as a child, it did elicit some sort of joy in me, so I did like the movie. There was something about it that I was like, this both terrifies me as a child, but at the same time...
That was, you know what? I know exactly what you're talking about, because my sister was obsessed with Sleepy Hollow, and one day she was watching. It wasn't the
because there was
one.
A year,
right?
There was a year in the aughts, and it had to have been either 2002 or 2003,
right?
Where there had to have been, during that span, at least that I can remember, 4 different retellings of the Sleepy Hollow.
It was like, they do that for whatever. Like, remember one year they were like, hey, we're going to do the CGI Jungle Book 4 times in one year.
Yes.
You remember that shit? And then Scarlett Johansson was in like 3 of them, and then they were like, you know what? Let's cut out the middleman and just put The Rock in Riverboat Amazon movies.
Yeah.
It was about like those, and I saw like a clip of that, and it's like a Disney ride if it was a movie, where there's like The Rock and Emily Blunt that they don't have. And you know what? I don't like that they don't talk about how bad the option of malaria is on those things, and how they're just like, we're going on a whimsical adventure, and I'm like, not if one of those mosquitoes gets here.
Yeah, nobody talks about the entire vaccination process that has to go in before this.
In the Amazon.
Nobody ever talk. Yeah.
That's why if there's a little part of me where I'm like, I understand the ecological importance of the Amazon, but anyone who's ever been like, yeah, I do research in the Amazon, and they're like, and they tell about it, they're always like, yeah, I like died like 6 times, not animal related, just raw disease related.
Yeah.
Just catching, just like, yeah, I got a cut on my hand, and I was sick for like 4 straight months. I almost died twice, and they're like, but there's really nothing I'd rather do. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
Like, you think Yosemite?
Well, so I mean, and that's a whole other thing. And the big thing was Ebola. Ebola is a big one that's basically kind of started the same way. You know, it started from a rainforest and started deep in the jungle, and kind of somehow ended up into human populations, and that was a whole thing.
I remember
that. I remember. Yeah, I remember that in because that had to have been like 2012.
Yeah.
2013 when the outbreak was really bad. Maybe still 2011.
Yeah.
But the outbreaks were getting really bad at that time. But what was odd is, I gotta say, maybe 3 years before that, for a science class, I had to read a book called Hot Zone, which I go on about. Right. I could go on about this book. It's one of my favorite books. Which is such a weird thing to say, right. But the premise of it is just so interesting, in the fact that was 20 years before that current outbreak.
Right.
So when the 2010 early 2010s outbreak of Ebola happened, that was 20 years after we already had kind of a retelling of the transmission of Ebola through a few isolated patients. That are tracked through that book. You know, that book kind of starts off with like names were changed, but overall this is nonfiction. Like this is the telling of this story is actually following these particular patients,
right.
and the spread of this disease, and it's just told in a story like way still. But that's an interesting book to me. But that was a whole thing.
Yeah. They sold Ebola to us a lot better than they sold COVID, I will admit. Ebola, they were like, dude,
easy.
Ebola, they were like, hey, do you want to bleed out of every orifice canvas of your body and suffer in the most like, and everyone's like, we need to get a hand, and then when the COVID
Oh my
happened,
God.
they're like, it's a cold but worse, and it's like, I mean, we can handle a cold.
We all watched Osmosis Jones.
We can
We loved Osmosis Jones back in the day. We all watched that. We were like, yeah, absolutely, vaccines. This Bill Murray almost died.
Right. Oh my god. Dude, watching that movie now, I was like, what the fuck were like, because like there's just random movies in the 90s where they're like, there's like the classic like Disney ones you love, and then you see like
That had to have been 2002?
Was it
2002, something like that, 2003.
Damn.
Because that was elementary school for me.
Oh,
I was
okay.
still in elementary school, and I only remember this because my mom used to work out at a high school. She was a nurse, and she was working for a high school out in the Gadsden district, so like really southern New Mexico, and I mean on the border in southern New Mexico. So there's Anthony, New Mexico, which is also Anthony, Texas, because the border of the state runs down the middle of the city.
Oh shit.
Or the town. It's township.
That's
That's Anthony, Texas, and just a little bit more south is the Gadsden School District, whose nurse's office is a full stocked triage center. It's a trauma triage center basically. Whoa. And they hire a bunch of trauma nurses and stuff, and people who either have some sort of experience with some sort of surgeries, things like that. But pretty high up nurses get hired there because it was the most gang activity for any high school in the area.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so my mom was constantly seeing gun wounds and stab wounds on campus, and they would have to stabilize, get them to the ambulance gets them to hospital. So yeah, big deal. Yeah,
man.
Well, I would get really sick, and I was like chronically sick as a kid.
Right.
And I would get really sick in elementary. And I was really prone to bronchitis flare-ups. I had chronic bronchitis as a baby.
Yeah.
So I just always have these bronchitis flare-ups. And one time it was bronchitis and strep, and I was like out for a whole 2 weeks. It took me out. But my mom was like, I'm not gonna leave you home with these things.
Right.
Because I've had this terrible bronchitis all my life. My mom was like, no, if you stop breathing, it's at least going to be on my watch. Yeah. So she would take me to work with her, set me up in that nurse's office because it was so big that I was like not taking up any space for anyone. Huh. And they would roll out one of those TVs you could rent from the library. And my only option was Osmosis Jones.
I can't believe that.
I watched Osmosis Jones at least 20 times in 2 weeks.
I think when they released that movie, they're like, all schools get 20 free copies of Osmosis Jones, because I watched it elementary school, I watched it in middle school, and then the teacher was like, yeah, you know what we're gonna do for your freshman year science class? Osmosis Jones. And I was like, listen, we get it.
Well, okay, so I believe two things happened with most kids when they saw that. Some kids, well, okay, three. You have normal kids where it didn't affect them that much.
Right.
And then you've got some kids who saw that movie and were like, absolutely, I'm going to wash my hands forever. And that was the pandering they were doing. And then you have kids like me who were like, if I take more meds, that means I have tiny fighting robots in my immune system, right?
A lot of that is what they teach you in that movie. Is that like, hey, antibiotics are robot soldiers
are actually
that fight
a
you.
Robot soldier,
and you're just like, they're like, you're about to overdose on antibiotics, and you're like, they need reinforcements, mom.
Also, if you are an abolitionist, guess what? Your white blood cells are cops. Beat that. Abolish that. Like, there's just some really weird propaganda that's going on in that movie, if you really want to make the argument for it, I guess.
There was like that weird, like, I think it was like the late 90s where they started doing a lot of like those like just like kids movies, and like I think they started with like, did you ever see the sequel to The Wizard of Oz? Return to Oz. Did you ever see that one? They just took movies took like a weird dark turn
Yeah.
for like kid stuff, and then there was like water. Did you ever see Watership Down? You ever see that one?
No.
It's about like little cute bunny rabbits getting like mauled to death, getting gassed, like them getting rabies and fighting each other, and they're like for kids.
Sounds right.
It's not like
sounds about right.
And it was just one of those movies where they pushed weird bounds with it, where they were like you remember that nightclub scene in Osmosis Jones, or that little germ is rapping about just like
yes,
and you're just like, huh?
Yeah.
Was this?
Well, that was also a thing. Kids were being shown club scenes, and Batman Beyond was a big proponent of it.
Was that the one with Was that the one with George Clooney?
That was Batman. No, Batman Beyond was the cartoon.
Oh,
and was the one that takes place like
in the future,
almost 40, 50 years after the events of the original Batman animated series.
Which that kicked ass in every way possible.
Oh,
that
I have opinions on DC animation throughout the years that I can go on.
This is why we get along so well. Because I've probably watched all of them, if not the exact same ones we're all talking here.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. See, now I already forgot what the other point was. And now I just want to talk about that
DC
because
movies.
I loved DC animation. And I still love DC animation.
They're so good.
And quick point to this, I think it is a shame that Marvel can do what they do with live action movies and with live action storytelling and not necessarily their animated stuff, because their animated stuff is newer.
Right.
The stuff that's good, in my opinion. So this is the point I'm making. Marvel hasn't been able to animate shit for years.
Right.
The original X-Men, as nostalgic as we are for it and as much as we love that show, it was an abomination for like animation. It was the frontier animation for that stuff, but still at the same time, like, there were other cartoons that probably had the same budget that were just a little bit more put together.
Right.
I think about, there are early scenes in some of the first few seasons actually of X-Men where the physics of what it is they're doing in there doesn't even make sense for clunky animation. It's just clunky animation. Banshee.
Yeah.
The X-Men, right?
Yeah,
the Scottish one that
Screams.
makes himself fly by screaming, right?
Is that like now, like, because you know how you like, do you think some Scottish people are bothered by that their one Scottish superhero, all he does, he yells so hard he can levitate himself off the ground?
You know what? I think the Scottish people are throwing so many trees around that they
don't care.
Do not concern themselves with those matters.
Sure.
I think that they are more focused on, again, their Celtic games.
Sure.
And pissing off politicians. I think that is their main goal.
That's what they do. Dude,
especially American politicians, especially Trump.
Oh.
They love to piss that man off, and I live for it. I have 100%. If I expat, it's to Scotland.
Same.
100. That's the first place I would want to go.
That's the spot. Right now I saw the thing where like one of their soccer teams made it into the World Cup this year. And they're like, and you know what I respect about the Scottish is that other than they know how to be like celebrate like a goal like a big sports victory without like pillaging their own city and lighting it on fire like we do in America,
which is wild because
just Philadelphia.
I hold the belief that they are the rednecks of the British Isles.
I think that's completely accurate.
They are fully the country folk of Great Britain,
but they're just,
and just that whole United Kingdom. I think they are definitely the country folk. They have huge redneck energy.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I love them. That's absolutely why.
But they don't sound like garbage. Like there's
they're putting miniature horses in sweaters, and that's what's on their government website front page.
That's what. Yeah, they're not more involved than anything. But dude, I love that
It's
video.
fun country.
Oh
not...
yeah, not
yeah, yeah.
Not gross Appalachian country.
Okay, well, first we do have to respect the Appalachian people right now
Really?
who are giving ICE the runaround
No.
because I don't. Okay, if you don't know about
I
this,
don't.
which
What's going on?
I
What are they
love,
doing?
I love because I think we don't. So I just also want to preface with I'm saying that a lot. I want to say that I love. I'm talking with my hands a whole bunch. Somebody made fun of me the other day. They were like, "Okay, Trump," and I was like, "Don't you dare,
dude.
And then I was like, "You're right. I talk with my hands a lot."
I got it. I got hit with that at work the other day. He was in my room. I was like,
They were like,
he's
"Just do the accordion."
Yeah, he's like,
"We're
dude,
just waiting
he's like-
for you to do it."
I was talking about like I was like a scam thing, and he's like, man, you're even doing Trump's hands. You really are. I'm like, that you don't take the
Yeah.
fun out of it.
Yeah, yeah. But the oh my god, what were we talking about? Just before that.
Scottish people.
Yes.
Appalachians giving
that's
ice
what it
run
was.
around.
Yeah, so I want to start with saying that I am country redneck white trash adjacent. I come from, and anybody who hears this who is from a family like this is fully going to understand what I'm saying. I'm the city folk. Me and my family unit are the city folk compared to the rest of my mom's family. The rest of my mom's family are, I would say, more country. I think that they would wonder why I'm not just right out saying hick. They know their hick.
Right.
I absolutely love I love that part of the family, and
Right.
I love them for a completely different energy that and it's true, we were the city folk compared
Right.
to them. Especially in my own interest growing up, I had the hardest time getting along with cousins and stuff like that. But now that I'm older, I kind of like recognize some of that stuff. But the stuff that I loved about that culture, getting to grow up side by side by it, was you're kind of hit with right wing stuff and conservative ideologies. But you're also hit with very human ideologies, I think, that you realize and that these people also don't realize cross boundaries that we are creating, right?
Right.
So, like, this idea that somehow now, like, I feel like they're just a bunch of trad wives wannabes, who are country women now. But, like, when I think country women, I think kind of like what my mom was kind of trying to idolize, right? Like, I went all these years not knowing she voted for usually Republican candidates for the most part,
Right.
because she was also the woman who was like, oh no, if you're gonna shoot a man, you shoot them in the penis first.
Yeah.
Like you if you don't kill them, you take their ability away to reproduce or to ever hurt a woman ever again. This
Your
is
mom,
what
your mom kind of rules, man.
Oh yeah, it
Your
was
mom
definitely.
sounds
It was
awesome.
sort of like it was a very femme outlaw country energy that
Yeah.
she
That's pretty sick.
wanted. Whether or not she emulated perfectly, I can't
Yeah,
say.
toeing
But it
the
was
line
definitely
perfectly
it was
is hard.
definitely the idea she had going on.
Right.
And that's kind of what I love, and I love outlaw country. I love that a lot of country now so country music and country media has definitely lost the mark on what made outlaw country, right? And but so there's a lot of revolutionary ties to these kind of communities and stuff. There's always I have sides of family that both were like, well, you should call the police, and then I have family that's like, absolutely do not call the police, we're poor. like they're not gonna care whether or
They're
not
not
we're
coming
white,
around.
we're poor.
Right.
They're not gonna help us, they're not gonna do anything. But like, so I think about these kind of roots that some of this culture has, and I think that's lost on people because right now what is happening in North Carolina and kind of in the Appalachian area is you got a bunch of abolitionists who are giving false tips to ICE and getting ICE to wander for days in the mountains that they do not know. And I just keep imagining, and these mountain folk, these mountain people, just literally setting up traps and stuff out in the wilderness. But that is like such a thing that is related to that whole side of the country,
Right.
that I think people forget.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's not an aesthetic to a political ideology that we can
Right.
that we can truly tag down.
Yeah.
And I feel like we lose out on these kind of stories when we've been doing what we've been doing over the last, especially 5 years. I feel
Yeah.
like media has truly taken a turn, because of COVID,
Mhm.
AI, all of this stuff that in the last 5 years has really just grown to blow up to control everything we see, that we don't get to see shit like this
Exactly.
anymore. And it's just like, I want to be like the
Yeah.
rebellion Appalachian people
Well, I think
who are
that-
giving ICE the runaround.
Right. And I just think the whole thing about like the media is that, like, you're right, it is about control. And the biggest thing is that what they do is that they broad brush people. It's very easy to place yourselves in the us versus them and then blanket category a group of people, and then you don't get to hear all the individual stories. That it's not just a people. Like, to me now, like, Trump, like, I feel like there's a difference between like Republican and like Trump Republican.
Oh,
and
yeah.
those are like the in South. By the way, like all good political takes, South Park made it before anyone. Is that they're like
They are sort of killing it.
they're doing really good. They're doing so well.
I cannot imagine the carpal tunnel on those hands right now.
They have so much.
The writing
so
that they
good.
have to be doing. That ICE episode alone was absolutely genius. The scene, I just have to say this,
Yeah.
the scene where they bust into heaven, I think is some of the best. It is the hands down one of the best written scenes that I have seen in anything, comedy, television, whatever. I think it is the most funny, clever, original scene written in the last 5 to 10 years. Easy. Hands down that scene alone.
They had so well. Also, you got to remember they have a certain like grudge against Trump because he fucked over their whole season. Remember, like I didn't, was it 7? I don't know what season.
I
was.
don't know.
It was, but there was one season they had to like completely change the half of the season because of the election, and you know they had to make Mr. Garrison be Trump then. And all that.
Yeah.
And now that they were like, now they made him the modern Saddam Hussein.
Yes.
Sleeping. Also, I love what they did with JD Vance.
JD Vance, baby JD Vance. Oh, okay.
So great,
So as
great.
an American Dad fan, you can appreciate what I'm about to say. I don't know if you know about the series, but there's a YouTube series called Death Battle.
Yeah, I love Death Battle.
Yeah, Death Battle.
They rule.
I love been watching Death Battle forever. I really want a death battle between baby JD Vance and Grogu. Grogu from Rogu. Rogu from America. I see. Tiny Yoda. Which I also hate that when they did that name because Rogu just came out.
Yeah.
And then they came out with the name for Grogu, and I was like,
Rogu.
I know exactly
also-
where you stole this.
He's the candle eating.
Yeah. I want to watch Rogu and baby JD Vance fight, knowing full well Rogu will win.
Of course
but
he
I
will.
still want to watch it.
Oh,
Still want to watch it. I would live for that. I love baby JD Vance.
It's great.
It is
I-
so funny.
I love what they do with Fox News where they're like, "Eat it," and then when they catch
Oh,
like Trump
the
banging
news
JD,
alerts and
it's
stuff.
like Fox News alert.
Yeah,
They're all
Yeah, the
sad.
news alerts are wild. I love what they're doing with that season. The whole Sheila episode, the way that ended up they ended up going about that was just so funny.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and just turning to my to the friend I was watching it with and just being like, can we just send her?
Right.
Does she actually exist? Can we send her to Netanyahu? Because
Mr. Netanyahu.
I really need to see
that's-
where that story goes later on. I remember trying to do D&D and it turning into the first hour every time was most of us complaining about stuff.
Right. Oh,
That's how you spend the first hour of your D&D sessions now. It's everybody wants to complain first.
I never, I recently played D&D for like, and by recently I mean like a year ago. I played it for like, seriously, for realsies, for like the first time ever.
First time.
And I gotta say, I had a real blast. It's the whole, it's just a lot to take in because I'm like I like board
Yeah.
I like board games and I like the role playing. I like the like the personal freedoms you have with it.
Yeah.
But when they're like when they're like all right, build the character. Like all right, great. My character's name was Queef. He was a
Original?
yeah, but it was spelled Kweef.
Mm.
So we kind of
The white boy spelling.
the
I
white.
got it.
It's like the '90s with the Z. It's Queef. And,
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I really want a Malibu Most Wanted reboot. But it's Trevor Wallace. Everything else about the movie is the same except for the main character, who is now Trevor Wallace.
that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good. Anyway.
And but then when they're like, oh yeah, and well, what's funny is I didn't tell anyone, and it was a big group. It was like 9 people, and everyone's like introducing their characters,
dang.
and I was like, because like they do a D&D group where it's my sister's boyfriend, her, and their 3 siblings, and this time it was me playing, and his mom.
Jesus.
Yeah, the big dork family, the funnest family of all time. He actually edits this podcast. But anyway,
I bet it's way easier to get a family together. Okay, I say that when it was my own family I was trying to play with, and I was actually not good at keeping up with the schedule. I was the problem. I was the first one to definitely dip out of that group. I don't know if they're still doing it.
Right.
I haven't even asked my brother and my cousin if they're still doing D&D.
Yeah.
I know that they play a couple video games together, but yeah.
Right. Oh, and
I bet that kind of like being like siblings and stuff. I bet makes it a lot easier to like get people to want to make time, but to also just schedule because
every Friday or Saturday, and then their sisters live in Japan too, so they're like they'll like wake up at like 5 a.m. to play with them.
Jesus!
And, like, their commitment is fucking bananas. I'm the you in this. I can't commit to that.
That's wild.
They're so dedicated.
I love D&D. My brother got me into D&D when I was younger. And I think he inadvertently got me into D&D. Part of it, I think a couple times was him trying to connect with me. So me and my brother are about 7 years apart.
Oh, wow.
So a bit of an age difference, not really too much in common throughout, because also we were just at prime times of like, when I was a kid, and when he was a teenager, I was a kid.
Right.
So we had nothing in common. And so I still got influenced a lot by the stuff he was doing, not necessarily the other way around though. Mm-hmm. But one time, I think the first time we did D&D, I think sort of brought me as like a filler body maybe.
But they just needed
for
someone
the
for the campaign
or something.
Okay.
Knowing that I would at least have an idea of what to do because of what the game was set in. Mm-hmm. And this particular, my first D&D game ever was Harry Potter. It was Harry Potter D&D. We did the full, like, which house were you? Yeah. Full school theme, all of it. And my brother, and that's kind of when I realized that I was my brother's secret weapon in the campaign. Because I, by that point, already had encyclopedic knowledge of every spell used in every book on what all of the TISM was early.
The movie nerd Lord of the Rings got me pretty hard. I understand.
Same.
Oh.
We only watch the extended versions in my home. You're not allowed to watch the other ones.
My girlfriend out there, she is the most gangster person for doing this. Is that I was like, hey, let's watch Lord of the Rings, and I was like, I was gonna start off on the normal ones, and she's like, no, let's do the extended editions, and I'm like, really? Are you sure? She liked them so much. We watched 2 in one day. We didn't leave the couch for...
That's the whole day.
Yeah,
And then the third movie is another day.
Oh, God, yeah. And then the part... This is where she's so funny, is like right at the end of the third movie, they're getting on the boat, everyone's crying and stuff. We're both sobbing. And then through the tears, she goes... Wouldn't it be funny if the hobbits started blowing each other? And I was just completely... I stopped crying and laughed unbelievably hard. I was like, you kind of stepped on the moment. She's like, what if everyone else started to join in? I'm like,
was it at the very end?
It
of
was
the
at
series?
the very end.
Very end, just
end.
before
They all leave and they're on the
before
boat,
they
and
go into Grey Haven.
Yeah, and then she's like, no, she's
Haven.
like, they're doing it on the dock. They
Yeah.
don't wait. And I'm like, that
Wow.
would be. I cried. I was crying laughing, and I called my.
That's funny.
Oh, she's yeah.
My roommate will not give anybody the option.
You don't get
You get no option. It's only the extended versions, especially if you're in our house.
well,
If
the
you're in
part
our
that-
house, she will not, which is just so funny because I love watching her force that movie series on people.
and that's kind of how you introduce it.
And
to your
like,
friends.
if you're gonna do any movie series, honestly, better that than Harry Potter now, because like, I used to be a huge Harry Potter fan.
Right.
You read
the books,
I have a tattoo.
right?
It was a whole different thing at the time.
Right.
I even camped out for the last movie
Right.
for 3 days. I camped out in front of my movie theater in Las Cruces for 3 days. There's actually, I think me and my friends are on the front page of the news.
Holy,
And I think I still
shit.
have that news clipping somewhere. I'm sure I do. Yeah, stupid nerd stuff.
That's magic.
I've definitely fallen out of love with that series because of
Okay.
just what it is now. Like especially now because people have only watched the movies.
Right.
Whereas back in the day we were all watching the movies and reading the books kind of at the same time, you know.
Right.
So I there are just a lot of people who love it now who are just who literally grew up on ABC Family, just marathons of it.
Right. 100%.
So it's not really my thing anymore. Unfortunately, I still have an encyclopedic knowledge of
that doesn't-
several stuff from
that
that,
doesn't leave you.
nerdum. Yeah,
That
no,
never
it doesn't.
leave- that doesn't- that never
when
leaves
you,
you.
but yeah, my brother took me. My first D&D was a Harry Potter campaign,
That's so
and we
rad.
brought me in, and they had this whole scene set up, and in every scenario we were in, because the DM, who was not my brother, the DM did not realize that my brother was bringing me, and the DM himself did not know all of the spells that had
Right.
been used in all of the books up to that
So you were
point.
you were the ultimate fact
So
checker.
every encounter we had, I'd be like, "Oh, well, we just used this spell," and people would be like, "What is happening?"
It
And I think
pays
my
off.
brother also was doing this to get the attention of a girl. Because also, what looks better than bringing your little brother, your sibling, your younger sibling,
Yeah.
to this thing, and acting nice for the first time ever?
Oh my
and
God,
Because
yeah.
also, I'm giving it away. My brother is like acting nice to me, and I'm sitting there like, "What's happening?
Right.
Why are you doing this? Why did you bring me here?
Right,
Who
you're
are
just-
these people?
Yeah.
Why are they all in college and you're in high school? What's
Yeah.
happening?"
All important questions to ask.
Yeah, this is weird.
Right.
I think that probably also, I think my brother could agree that those were some weird friends.
Oh yeah. Well,
Some of them were still good. It was
Sure.
cool because that also was those same people. They were all just freshmen though,
Right.
You know, so it's like, really, what's the difference between being 18 out of high school and being 18 in high school?
yeah, like I get your
Like
friends
there
graduated,
is
but
there is
the-
a difference, but
when you're raising eyebrows is when they're like 35.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
we have
this
high
was
school,
not this.
We have high schoolers that we're not related
I
to in
had-
our D&D group.
I
It's
had
like,
truly only ever met these people like 3 times after that incident.
Sure.
You know, it was like what it was.
just a random.
But
Just
that
D&D.
was my first brush with D&D, and then some classic D&D. You know, and as I'm saying all of this, I'm like, am I actually lying? I think there was a Star Wars D&D just before that too that we did.
See, I lost my love for that. Like these days, I lost my love for Star Wars. Has gone down immensely.
Oh, see, and mine's the opposite.
You like it more
I
now.
love the new stuff way more than I love some of the older stuff.
Really?
Now, I am still of the generation.
That hated the sequels or prequels.
Nope.
No,
The prequels are my favorite.
I love the. Prequels.
I love the
are
prequels.
the best.
I
They're
love the
best
prequels.
ones.
Agreed. I think a lot of the, I think the ADD of the writing of the prequels actually works in its favor. I think, and we're seeing that now with the newer movies and the newer universe that they're creating.
Right.
We see that now in the fact that like those movies actually, for all the critiques that they had at the time, set up the franchise for so many different stories to be able to
Right.
take place. So I feel like the prequels did really well in the fact that like they did something they didn't intend to, which was be able to create so many options for stories later on.
And you know what? It created for me the Star Wars, the Clone Wars. Like you did you ever see that?
That was one of the best Star Wars.
That was like, and that's why and here's the part I. Listen, there's no pleasing fans to a certain extent with Star Wars.
Yeah,
even with like
there's no point in trying to please all your fans.
They're all nerds. They don't have girlfriends. They don't do anything. They're just gonna complain because it didn't fit their weird little nerd purview. I get that. The sequels did, or the prequels did, what the original Star Wars didn't do, was it stepped everything out a bit more. The bigger universe,
exactly.
The more aliens, what the Jedi were, and it's hard. Listen, it's hard to be like, you know, because watching it now, knowing everything we know from the prequels, it makes it all better because it tees it up in such like this great epic way, and I love that. And but if you just like watch the original Star Wars movies on their own, I mean, sure, they're entertaining when you're a kid, but older, then you're just like, well, this is kind of like really cut and paste. Like, there's a lot more humans.
It's also
like Billy D. Williams isn't sober enough to drive that spaceship. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's
it very much for, and again, but that's the other thing, right? You gotta remember when those movies came out. And I was literally just talking with my brother about this, because we always drive together for holidays.
Right.
So when we drove down for Thanksgiving, I think we literally were just talking about this idea, because I had just had another conversation with somebody else about Star Wars, and they wanted to give me this big in-depth analysis of Star Wars. And at the end of the conversation, I had to remind myself, I was like, these movies always came out for kids.
Yeah.
And my brother being who my brother is, was like, well, teenagers. And I had to be like, kids,
children, no, babies.
Children, like, again. And he was like, yeah, okay, no, you're right. And it's like, yes, all of these franchises have always been made for younger viewers, and I sort of have to remind myself that even those prequels and even the dark scenes in the prequels,
right,
regardless of the adults who were there to watch it,
it was for the kids.
It still technically is like a story that is meant for, even if your target audience are teenagers.
Right.
That's kids.
Yes.
That's kids. That's your audience. So I think I always have to remind myself whenever I'm talking about this series to people and even trying to defend any part of Star Wars, it's like at the end of the day, we're talking about something meant for children.
Right.
Literally for children. Clone Wars, you
kids.
cannot watch the show of Clone Wars without having to admit you're watching a kid show.
Of
that
course.
was Cartoon Network. That was literally meant for kids.
Absolutely.
And the themes and the stuff that they did in it absolutely were probably ahead of their time.
It was like, but it was like they put real world stuff digestible for younger viewers.
Yes.
Warcraft
and
stuff.
created an actual universe with some continuity,
right,
that didn't even exist in the prequels at the time, which is one of the major critiques people have about it, right? Another major critique about the prequels that I think is an absolute crime, the person who plays Jar Jar Binks is at the time one of, if not the best physical comedian, as well as the best just physical actor on a screen.
That was all motion caption, right?
He made those movements. He did all of it.
Those are all
that
impressive.
Is genius.
Right.
Like
physical,
body,
physical humor.
Yes. His ability to be able to move his body in such a way is there's only one other performance at the same time that even marks it, and that's Smeagol. That's Andy Serkis,
right,
as Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. That's the only other actor who pulled off that good of level of body acting and just choreography,
right?
To be able to work through that character and the way he moves. That I hate the hate that Jar Jar Binks gets because of just how much the older fans didn't like the character, which again, if you just think about it, for kids,
it's for kids, and
it's for kids.
So actually, I've been working on a theory lately, and I've been noticing it more and more as like kind of like all of us nerds get older.
Yeah,
is that I feel like old nerds are almost kind of ruining things for everyone else. Like, so Pokemon is my biggest example of this.
Ooh,
I think
I have an opinion about Pokemon
I
at the
know,
moment.
I
So
know
let's,
you would. Let me. All right. So
let's.
let me. Oh yeah. Let's roll the sleeves up. Let's pitch this. So I think, of course, it's the same thing. It is for children.
Yeah.
I understand it's competitive play. I understand collecting stuff for
So,
kids.
So first,
for babies.
are we talking about Pokemon in whole as a franchise, or are we talking about Pokemon cards?
The franchise as a whole,
Okay.
and I'm also Pokemon cards they're a part of the.
It's a part of the conversation. Overall, we're talking about overall. Okay, good.
But the cards I think are the best example of, hey man, there are little kids who just like looking. They're for kids, okay? And when these opportunistic loser nerds go like, no, I'm gonna trash a Walgreens because I can't wait in line 4 days ahead of time to buy out, to use weaponized adult knowledge on 10 to 12-year-olds, and being like, no, I'm gonna buy these and sell them for a crazy inflated cost.
Oh yeah.
They're cardboard.
Oh, oh my god. In Crucis, when I was growing up, there was a card shop.
Right.
Called Hidden Treasures. It was always a weekend thing for me. If I ever wanted to go, if I ever wanted to have money,
Right, just
those
take you
chores
to the
throughout
card
the
shop.
week were done. Everything and then my dad would take me. He'd be running some errands. He would take me to that card shop, drop me off, leave me there for hours, which is wild because the man who owned that shop was absolutely older than my father. So that was kind of oof.
That's old school parenting. They just leaving you with strangers of all
fully,
just completely.
And this building, it was a plaza. It was a little plaza in Las Cruces. And this plaza was straight up built like a rundown old cat
old
I
like a
can't
gutted,
even- I
gutted
can't even-
cafe.
like a cabin, so not even a cabin, but and this is another thing, you have to have been living in some sort of mountains at some point, but mountain motels have a specific aesthetic to them that's almost like log cabin.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, this is what that plaza basically how it was built. And only one room of this was the longest room of this plaza, and that was the card shop.
Oh, shit.
And so there's only two windows.
Right.
They each face, I think, east. And he had these big old shutters on them and everything, and then just tables down the entire way because he was holding tournaments there, everything. It was really cool for kids, right? We all loved it. None of the parents loved that man.
Oh, of
they
course.
all thought he was weird for having a shop that was mainly
kid oriented.
yeah. I can't tell you how few adults I saw in there,
Right.
other than the people who ran the shop.
It was just kids.
Yeah. So, but that was the thing back in the day, and I can remember that man, especially on the newer card games. If it was Yu-Gi-Oh, if it was so at the time of Yu-Gi-Oh coming out in America, there was another anime and game kind of coming out at the same time. That was a bit of a mix between Yu-Gi-Oh and probably Magic.
Which one was it?
But it was Duel Masters. If you know anything about niche anime, Duel Masters.
I haven't thought about
If you
that
have never watched
ever
a more niche anime, watch Duel Masters, because it was at the same time as Bobobo and
my
Rave
God.
Master and all of these anime that were adopting this weird version of humor because they had to do all the dubs.
Right.
And so they would have to fill in the space of the words, and they were just making stuff up.
Right.
And so Duel Masters, I think, is one of the better comedic ones,
Right.
as far as cult classic anime go. But there was the card game at the same time,
Right.
and that card game was getting some notoriety.
Yeah.
But it didn't
take
quite
off.
take off or last long enough for
Right.
it to be a game for as long as Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon has been now. But that I was playing that game at the same time, and that man was charging me $20 a card. $20.
That's
like
extortion.
obviously there's some sort of foil card, right?
Right. There's
like depending on what it is. But then now as I'm older, I still have a Yu-Gi-Oh card collection. I collect thousands of Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
No way.
I never knew you could buy each individual card the same way as I did as a kid, but online.
Right.
So that's been the worst thing for my wallet ever. That's
Really?
the worst thing for my finances, but I do not care.
Everyone's got everyone's got their dork hobbies, and you know what? As long as you're not mortgaging your house to pay for it.
Well,
who
everybody
cares?
else during COVID was making bread, and I was like, no, I'm going to collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and now I have thousands of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so it's like, whatever.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, some people have a sourdough starter, and I could care less.
I want to learn how to bake just because like I like baking, but also I don't need a full pandemic for me to be like, God, you know what's gonna fix this hole in my heart? Sourdough.
A sourdough made from a starter kit that's been passed around from 3 other families that I'm not related to. It's so weird to me how people get their starter kits for their sourdough.
It's inherited.
And it's like, yeah, I inherited this from someone, or like, yeah, this
regifted.
I know somebody who was like, oh no, the people who moved out left it.
Right.
I was like, you shouldn't use that.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Wild stuff.
Oh, so get us back on track a little bit.
Yeah. Pokemon
to
this card. Yeah.
So your story touches on it, which is kind of like almost the precursor of how like a lot of this ended up being, is that it was older people, and also they're just such bastards about it. They're just the scalping of it, and also I think if you're listen, if you have a beard and have paid taxes, you don't get to complain about how bad the last Pokemon game was. Because you know what? It's for babies. It is for kids. Legend of Arceus was our game. That was the game for us. That was for adults.
I love that you're saying all of this because I'm over here like I absolutely was shitting on the last
Well, we all were. It was terrible.
To my brother, but I was making the exact same point. I was like, I can talk about Pokemon till I'm blue in the face, but the problem is it is for kids.
And
I am 33. I am 33.
It needs to stay for kids.
I am an adult.
There's nothing wrong. Stick
to Digimon.
Right. Oh, yeah, dude. That's
which actually was part of the point I was making to my brother.
Right.
Because I don't know if you know, but there was a recent Digimon game that came out.
I saw it.
Time Stranger. Honestly, if you need a break from Pokemon, that was a game that you grew up with just basically I grew up with a version of every generation with Pokemon my entire life. I think the last generation of Pokemon I could not even bring myself to buy.
Same.
The Violet
that was my last one. That was my last send off. I couldn't do anything.
I didn't even touch it. I did Sword and Shield. I think was the last one I was able to play.
Yeah.
And even that was kind of rough.
I
saw it.
It was just too.
The point that I was making to my brother was with between the Digimon game that had just come out, and what Pokemon's model is for their games, and it's the same model. And they've never changed it. And unfortunately, we've been at a point several generations back where they were burning through design options. And so it's like they're literally like we're going to get to a point now where this is AI generated. And if it's not AI generated, it's going to look it because there's only so much you can do. So why do you burn yourself out at always having like
a game released every year,
25 new Pokemon or 30 new Pokemon or even 50? Why do you keep burning yourself out at having these high demands for these designs when Digimon over the last 15 years soft launch, actually 20 years, soft launched the design for 14 characters that they did not fully introduce until this game this year.
Interesting.
They've been soft launching these characters with very little lore, a character here and there. It's their version of the Roman gods.
Right.
So it's the 12 pantheon of Greek gods, right? But as their Roman personas. So it's that 12 plus Hades plus another character who's based off of just the idea of the Titans.
Right.
Actually, I guess so. That's 13, 14. So 15 actually, because another one is based off of Kronos.
Okay.
Which in the
Yeah,
Roman is Zeus's dad.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as he's Uranus or Uranos is the Greek, I think. I used to be a Greek mythology nerd too.
I'm currently really reading the Iliad in the Odyssey.
Okay.
As we
Yeah,
speak.
yeah,
listen, I'm not gonna highbrow you
Yeah.
on any of the things that like. Listen, I'm listening. And you know what's funny? After listening to the Iliad, I think the funniest take of it is that it's like the first like anti-war story I've ever like really read, because it's like all the women characters are like, you know, you don't have to die for this. Like, no one needs to. None of this needs to happen. And they're just like, and my favorite part is
and they're like, but for you, we still will. And
Yeah.
it's just like,
it's like, hey man,
they told you not to,
Right.
But we have to still for the women. It's it's a weird premise.
the part that kills me is I love like Achilles. Everyone like glorifies this character, and I think it's a tad of Brad Pitt's fault because he made him.
Whoa.
He made him look so rad in that movie. But in the book, he's literally just like he's crying to his mommy goddess. He's like, "Mom, they took away my prizes from battle," and he's like throwing a fucking tantrum because he's like, I killed like 15 people, and they didn't give me one. It was like one scene, and I'm like, what is he, 10?
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but there was a writer in the last few years, probably the last 5 or 6, maybe even 10 years. It could be older.
Right.
Somebody retelling the story of Achilles from the perspective of Patroclus. Is that his cousin's name? Something like that.
Pericles?
Pericles, is that his cousin's name?
God.
I think it's Patroclus. Anyway,
They talk about the names of 5,000 different people you don't ever hear from
it's
again.
a name that rhymes with testicles.
Yeah.
And so and it's from his cousin's perspective, and his cousin being his actual, it was his lover.
Right.
It was his partner. It was the
Right.
man he was in love with.
Right.
But that was a thing that came out, and it was one of the biggest like gay books to come out.
Really?
Every gay man I know has read that book.
I believe that.
For the most part. At least most gay men I know have read that book.
This is this generation's Lincoln Lover.
Yeah. Yeah. But to get back to the whole idea with Pokemon and all that, the whole point I was making was that it's just wild that like Digimon, who has always underperformed compared to Pokemon, but has always still been in my mind.
They've been alive.
Technically, the forever and always will be rival of Pokemon. No matter what, even if they've never done as well, it's always the thing that's just behind it.
Right.
It's the same kind of concept. Literally, digital monsters, pocket monsters, like that's
right.
They fed off of each other's names. And I loved both franchises. Definitely a bigger Digimon kid though.
Right.
But I just think it's so interesting that this company, Digimon, they thought they could just work on 15 new characters, hammer out their designs as actually being fully recognized, being good, decent characters, just this whole idea of being able to do that and then soft launch it over 10 to 15 years where they were releasing one character at a time, or lore again, in my opinion did better than the entire last 2 generations of Pokemon. When I saw it in Pokemon Sword and Shield is what I think when I saw this.
Yeah.
A literal Mario penguin. A penguin from, like, the penguin with the ice head.
Yeah.
That is
Mario.
a Mario design.
It was.
That is literally from Mario. You were having to recycle designs from other... Because Nintendo is also becoming the Disney of the video game world, right? Like, you have to have or the Apple of that, right?
Right.
They've created their own monopoly that only feeds out the same 5 games for the most part. The 5 most popular games are what? A Mario game, a Pokemon game, and then what else do you have? If not a Smash Brothers game, there's going to be another Mario game that's either a Mario Kart or it's a Mario Party.
Right.
And then you might have as the 5th one a game that does crossover platforms.
What is that game? The Fire Emblem. God, that's always one that I'm like, And that's also, I think the Japanese crowd certainly like that one a little bit more than stateside. My cousins like it, but I mean, I don't really know a lot of Fire Emblem diehards.
I do. I think it's also a generational thing.
It
so
is.
it definitely exists just above my generation of nerd.
Right.
That Fire Emblem was the most popular.
And
Pretty
they're
much,
about it.
if you were a part of the Final Fantasy Tactics crowd, you got into Emblem.
Final Fantasy, it's.
I told you, I'm a
such a
nerd.
tough- I know, I love you,
can
Cam.
keep
This is-
doing these.
Dude,
I've
Final
got
Fantasy was
every
too
one of
tough.
these topics down.
Dude, and that's why we had
Yeah,
you here.
yeah.
It's oh man, Fire Emblem was always one. Like the only part that pissed me off was like I'm a diehard Smash Brothers fan. Me and my friends, it's like it's like everyone in their friend group goes like oh like we're the best out of the friend group. My friends would like play to like tournament level, good.
Not me. I definitely never hit that love for Smash Brothers. But when me and Tosh got my roommate, when we got the Switch, that was absolutely the first game I still got.
And it was
because I was like, I'm going to be the most entertained with this.
Right,
I know.
it's fun.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was
still a very fun game.
and they
I do remember having a 64. I remember having the first one.
That's cool.
I remember having the first one. I remember how much we played that. It
Right.
was so much fun.
But when they're like, it's time to add a new character, they're like, guys, look, another big tittied Fire Emblem chick, and it's like, can we get? Well, then I'm glad Nintendo did kind of catch on, and they're like, hey, Steve from Minecraft, Banjo Kazooie. They actually started feeding
that's
us
the thing, right? Because
real-
it's still Nintendo.
And
Banjo Kazooie is Nintendo. You have the true crossover that I was like, okay, was when they did introduce Cloud.
Yeah.
When they introduced Cloud.
Square Enix? Was that Square Enix?
Square Enix, yep,
Okay.
yep. Because that was who used to be Squaresoft. That's when I remember Final Fantasy games, when it was still Squaresoft.
Right.
But Cloud was kind of the first introduction into the Smash universe that I was like, okay, finally we don't have something that's an actual Nintendo, literally a Nintendo-owned thing.
Yeah, because
I think most Sega stuff is owned by Nintendo.
for the most part,
Square
I think
Enix,
so.
I'm pretty sure.
Because they had God, who were they from Square Enix? It was did Square Enix own Street Fighter, or was that Bandicom?
That's Capcom. Capcom, I believe, was the owner for Street Fighter. Which, I mean, so these companies, I don't know who exists anymore either.
Right,
Because
right.
again, I'm at a point where I'm just under the impression everything is owned into a conglomerate.
But they
But
kinda
Nintendo,
are.
I think. Nope, I'm not even going to speak to what I don't know. I just know that Street Fighter that's Capcom.
Okay.
That's Capcom.
And I just, I think we're also reaching a little video game, crisis, because they keep being like, there's two things that keep happening in video games now. Listen, video games have flopped and done well over all space and time. But the difference now is that they're like, okay, we're raising the prices of everything, but we're not going to give you anything that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
PlayStation's the only... Listen, Ghost of Yotei was the only thing that... I haven't even played it, and I'm assuming it's one of the best games ever made. Because
I still need to play that one.
I got it. I got to hunker down and get a PlayStation. I just do.
Oh yeah, no, I love the PlayStation 5. I am very happy with, but also I'm talking from a perspective where if I had not gotten it the way I had gotten it, I would not have any connection to like any new generation console.
Right.
Because I actually got paid. My PS5 was a payment to me for DJing a wedding.
Oh yeah, you told me that at the...
Yeah, I DJ'd a wedding and
was
emceed
so
the
cool.
same wedding, and the people had asked me if I wanted to get paid, and I told them because I'm not a professional, I didn't want any payment, that just consider it my wedding gift to them. And they got me a PS5.
That's right.
I would have never gotten that. I would have never owned a PS5 because I don't make enough money.
Right.
and it's just not kind of a driving force of like motivation
Right.
to make more money. Is like, I don't, video game, like, I love video games, I am a nerd about video games. I love lore, so
Same.
there's nothing that's going to stop me from watching a video on YouTube about a game anyway. I
Also
don't
true.
have to play
Right.
it myself.
Right.
And
That's
we
true.
live in the world where people do watch video game streamers, so it's like not everyone's playing video games who even knows things about video games now.
Exactly.
So it is what it is, but I do love my PS5.
Right.
I am I've always been a PlayStation person. That's always been my console of choice. Mainly because of Square Enix, because that's always been the system that they didn't start really crossing over till 13, Final Fantasy 13.
Right.
But well before Final Fantasy 13, it was Kingdom Hearts and stuff. So like that's why I was keeping the PlayStation. That's why I've always been in the PlayStation family, is because of that franchise.
Right.
But
Kingdom Hearts
I
is-
have been stuck on Baldur's, like not
Oh,
stuck in
but,
Baldur's
like,
Gate,
you
but
love
like
it.
I have replayed Baldur's Gate now at least 12 times.
That's me with Elden
fully.
Ring.
It's so I hear what you're saying about a crisis with video games, and I hope that some of those video games, like Elden Ring, like
Just
Baldur's Gate,
keeping the
are
they're-
at least making some companies a little bit of aware of it. I
Right.
think the video games that sort of shot us in the foot, where we're reaching like again, it's the same with movies, right? We're
Yep.
running, people are running out of original ideas, and it's not that we're short on original ideas. It's that your original idea basically gets fit through whatever algorithm, and then they tell you if they think it's going to be successful or not, without even giving anything a try. You
Right.
know, so we get stuck with the same stuff because there's an algorithm, or there's somebody telling somebody who's in charge of that somewhere, that they're not going to do as well, or
Right.
that's not going to do as good with crowds or something. Like we need, for the same reason we need 12 Fast and Furious movies, we need 12 Call of Duty movies or
That- did you-
games.
have
It's like there's, you literally don't. I have spoken my hate for this game mainly because of the community, mainly
they're
because of how
gross.
it has influenced and shaped online gaming.
Yeah, they
as
really-
a whole.
They
But
encouraged all the worst things about online gaming.
but even as somebody who doesn't play the games, I can confidently at least say, do you need that many? Do we need so many Call of Duty games?
Oh
Do we care?
no!
Are they ever actually different? So it's one of those things that I'm
Right.
like, because what sucks is like, and me and my brother love talking like niche games, right? Like
Right,
cult
right.
classic games and stuff. But one of my favorites was a PlayStation 3 game, Vanquish. That is the only shooter game to this day that I'm like, hands
Was that
down,
the one?
that's my
Was that
favorite
the
shooter
one with
game.
like the demon snake things?
No, Vanquish was the one. Think like if Gundam was Iron Man. So
Huh.
the you were a soldier, and you had this suit, and the suit was basically a Gundam suit, but it was the size of your body, not giant.
Oh, okay.
And so you had this mech suit, and you were fighting, either you were fighting against a resistance, so maybe it was some propaganda. Maybe you were
it's on the
fighting
table.
for a resistance,
Whatever
taking
stu-
place in a
this-
space colony.
Right. Oh my god.
And it was very much a Gundam style space colony. So it was just like that's probably one of my favorite shooters of all time. And I still think about how original that game, the actual mechanics of the game were compared to other I'm also not a shooter game person. Like I've just
I get
never
that.
cared for them. I need high fantasy. I need a
I get that.
storyline. I need all these things. Outside of that, I'm mindless anime fighter games.
Fair.
Those can keep my attention for hours.
Big Soul Calibur guy.
Not so much Soul Calibur. I definitely have had every type of Dragon Ball. like Tenkaichi
Yeah.
game.
Oh my god.
I
Yes.
owned all of them. I still kick myself for ever selling my PS2 and selling the games with it, because it is impossible to find a physical copy of Tenkaichi 3.
My buddy, I know my buddy has one. And he's kept.
They go for the cheapest is $100, and that's if you don't get scammed. That it's a fake. That's a huge if. It's
I believe that.
impossible to find those physical copies of that game. But that was one of the best, because they just rebooted that game into another one, which is good, but they sort of pissed off all the old school fans by not keeping the same roster. It's a whole thing. And then I also grew up on the Naruto Ninja Storm games.
Oh my god,
so those are another favorite one.
Did you play any of the Xenoverse games?
What? I played the Xenoverse ones too.
Those are great.
I love that I like shit on fighting games, and then I'm naming some of the most kind of
hokey fighting games.
Yeah. They really, because they're not hard.
No,
they're not made to be hard. But they keep my attention. I was like, it's way more colorful.
Right.
I love the animation style in it, which you don't get with games that are trying to be more realistic.
Yeah.
Until Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring, like, and those are games where it's like, no, actually, you can look realistic and still have this really high fantasy,
and it's
really good. So.
And it's fun because also with I've always been a I think fanatical fan of the Souls games and all that. I love that. I love it because I love a game that's like, they like with, and I think I really relate to you on like you need a storyline and stuff. But with this game, it's like it tells you a storyline, but if you ever want to know more about it, you got to make that effort.
Yeah.
And it's always there. There's a whole cohesive story with all these different interesting characters and all this stuff. But they're not gonna spoon feed it to you through forced story progression. You gotta explore the world, figure out who you want to talk to, and I love that. Even like the item descriptions give part of the story, and I'm just like, it's so nice. All right, Mr. Cam, we are at our time limit, but dude, thank you so much for coming on. It was awesome to have you. I love the nerd stuff. I love all the stories. And is there anything you'd like to plug, my man?
No. Comedy's slow, so at the moment, no, not really.
December does slow down.
Spay and neuter your pets.
Damn straight.
Get them vaccinated. Get yourself vaccinated. I think that's honestly it.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you next week, folks.